Welcome to Niagara-on-the-Lake, a podcast by wineries in Niagara-on-the-Lake, where we talk about Niagara's lifestyle, food, and drink scene through the lens of our wine country. We're recording today, as always, at the beautiful Largo's Loft in downtown St. Catharines, and our guest is Allison Finlay, head winemaker at the Niagara College Teaching Winery. I'm so excited for this conversation because she has had such a cool journey in Ontario wine. So Allison grew up in Dryden, and originally she thought she'd end up working in plant science or ecology. But after a fateful visit to a Niagara tasting room, she completely fell in love with the world of wine. The art, the science, the creativity of it all. She went on to study at Niagara College's Winery and Viticulture Technician program, graduating in 2014. And then from there, I don't know, I want to let her tell the story. But I will say she's done harvests in really cool places like Australia and Oregon, and worked at some incredible local wineries, and eventually became the head winemaker at Flat Rock Cellars. So now it's the perfect full circle moment, and she's back where it all began, leading the winemaking program at Niagara College and mentoring the next generation of Ontario winemakers. I don't want to give any more away than I already have because it's really exciting to hear these stories straight from her, but we're very excited to have her on the show. Before we get into it, I do want to remind everyone that the thoughts we share in this podcast, either by us or our guests, are based purely on personal experiences and perspectives. We're all still learning, evolving, and figuring things out, so please take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Here we go.
Allison Finlay, welcome to Niagara-on-the-Lake. We're thrilled to have you here. This is our second episode, and that's really exciting. So thank you for coming out and see us. What did you bring with you today? Because we have a glass of beautiful wine in front of us. Can you talk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, so I brought our 2022 Dean's List Riesling. Brought this wine because it's delicious. I absolutely love it, and it is near and dear to my heart. So I have made a lot of Riesling in my short tenure as a winemaker. And this is my first Riesling from Niagara College Teaching Winery. And it's also the first Riesling harvested off the new plantings of the Niagara College Teaching Vineyard. So first fruit, treated with the utmost care, whole cluster pressed, cold ferment, all that fun stuff. But really was, fresh and showy in the ferment. And then I was like, it doesn't always maintain that fruit forwardness, that minerality, and they really did all throughout to bottling. And now it's got a bit of age on it, about a year or two in bottle. And I think it's just so vibrant, so delicious, so interesting. And it's also our first ever Dean's List Riesling from our reserve portfolio. So,
and for those who don't know, Dean List is your most premium tier in the portfolio?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's delicious.
I've just smelt it, and I'm like very much the wine baby here. And am I correct in saying I really smell apple, a ton of apple,
tons of green apple. It's very common in Niagara Rieslings, and it doesn't have any of that petrol note yet because it's not that far in aging.
It's and honey.
Yeah. Definitely some honeysuckle.
So petrol will come through more as it sits in bottle.
Yeah.
And would you say 5 to 7 years, 3 to 5 years?
Depends on the vintage. So usually in warmer vintages, that petrol note comes sooner than later. Cooler vintages, you maintain that minerality, that acidity, and that freshness a bit longer.
And we don't want petrol, right?
I mean, wine is so subjective. So I think what you want is not what someone else wants. It's maybe not what I want, but some people do anything for that petrol. So I think it's really what the consumer wants.
And 22 warm year?
Warm year, short crop. So coming off 21 was a pretty harsh winter. And so 2022 showed a shorter crop in the entire industry, but also really concentrated fruit, really good flavor, really nice warm harvest.
Mm-hmm. And it's good acid, which is Niagara wine, right? It goes so well with food, as our lovely wines do. Okay, thank you for the tasting. We wanted to go through that a little bit. It is a beautiful Riesling. I personally love Riesling from Niagara. I also love Riesling from Beamsville. Some of the bench wines are beautiful. I'd shout out a list, but we don't have enough time on our mics to shout out all the beautiful Rieslings. But we had Chardonnay in our last episode, another varietal that does amazing here in Niagara. So thank you for bringing this bottle for us.
Riesling was definitely my gateway wine.
Was it?
Specifically late autumn in the Skillen.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And the Ravines, what used to be the Reserve Riesling.
Okay.
And that's how I started deciding that I was going to drink more than Girls' Night Out.
Yeah, it's always fruit forward. It's always approachable. It's not complicated. It's not a lot of oak, a lot of aging on it, right? So it's no, it's just says what it is.
Yeah.
There's always some residual sugar. Typically, this is a dry Riesling, but sometimes that sugar really helps soften the blow when you're transitioning from either coolers or girls' night out. The Riesling can be a perfect gateway wine. I love that for Riesling.
And we're proud of you.
It's also a serious wine too, so it's actually a very good transitional wine.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about you to get us started and your journey. Obviously, you're at Niagara College now as the winemaker there. And how long have you been there?
It'll be 3 years in September.
Okay, and then so before that, you've worked at some other wineries. You did schooling at Lakehead, I believe, and then now you went to Niagara College and you continued your studies there. Can you maybe walk us through the end of your schooling at Lakehead to Niagara College to today and in not 45 minutes?
I was doing biology and plant sciences at Lakehead, and I always thought, I really want to work outside. I'm from the north, so I've spent a lot of my time outdoors. And one of my best friends was living in Niagara, going to Brock University, and we went I went to visit her. I went wine tasting, and someone explained to me behind the tasting bar that wine was soil and art and sunshine and science, and my mind just was blown. From that point on, I was going to graduate my undergrad at 22 years old. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I looked to this winemaking program at Niagara College, and it was like soil analysis and vine biology and organic chemistry, and these are all courses I'd taken in my undergrad, but yet there was tractor driving and wines of the old world, and I was like, whoa, this is a career, this is a program.
People do this for a job.
People do this for a job, exactly. So then I applied and I got in, and then I started Googling all the vineyards of the world, and they're all on a lake or on a mountain or with the most beautiful view you've ever seen, and I thought, I can work here. I can work at one of these for the rest of my life. So that was it. I moved down here in September of 2012 and completed the program, did a couple harvests here in Niagara at Creekside Winery, and then I went to Australia. From there I went to Oregon to kind of stretch my legs a little bit, get some traveling in, and then I landed a really great job with Flat Rock Cellars and was there from January 2016 till September of 2022.
Amazing.
Wow.
What is it about Australia? I feel like every winemaker I talk to, I went to Australia and I did a harvest there. What is it about Australia that makes it so unique?
They're the exact opposite of us in harvest.
Okay.
So that's why we go. We go when it's absolutely the doldrums of winter here. It's January here, and they harvest their grapes in February. We have nothing going on here in January, February. So winemakers jump down to the southern hemisphere, and you can double up in a year of harvest, and it kind of gets your experience up. So it looks really good when you're going to apply for jobs, saying like, I've done 3 harvests in the last year and a half, and it's good for experience.
When my undergrad was also in biology, and you talking about the intersection of the science and creativity and art of it, and I remember having that revelation in my later years in my undergrad, being like, oh my gosh, science is so creative. And I feel like wine is such a perfect example of being so technical and so like having to know a lot about. I remember the viticulture kids in my lectures, the organic chemistry that you have to know, don't envy it. But then the artistic expression of actually making the wine is so cool. So cool.
Yeah, I try to explain to tours and prospective students and our guests, like, I had one thing to make this wine, and it was a grape. And so all the flavors, the apple, the honey, the mineralite that you get out of this wine are naturally occurring in that grape. I didn't add anything. So all those are just organic molecules that are converted into esters and thiols and all these beautiful things during fermentation, which is an amazing, amazing thing that their yeast babies do. But they are all naturally occurring, and they are organic molecules. And so when you swirl a glass of wine, you're actually adding oxygen. You're using those volatile aromas, and they're coming out of the glass. And that's why their glasses are all tapered, because they're hitting your nose. So our job as winemakers is to preserve that for you. So when you do that big first swirl, it's a big jump from the glass.
It's like literally magic and alchemy.
Yeah.
In a glass.
Plants are also magic. Like the fact that all of the DNA is stored in a bud that overwinters, and then it comes out in the spring, and then all of a sudden there's a whole new grape, and it's just like, it's magic.
What I also think is cool about your story is it started in a tasting room.
Yeah. Right?
Like you said, it all started in a tasting room. It wasn't on your radar. It's not that you didn't think about it or anything like that, but you didn't think about it.
No, I didn't know. I grew up in Northern Ontario. All we grow was jack pines.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know
There's no vines
there
up
was
there.
a career in wine.
So you go to a tasting room, you get the soil and the sunshine and the whimsical of wine, and then you're like, wait, I can look into this. And then here we are.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's debating on going to a tasting room, go, because it's worth it. Because
might change your life.
Yeah, it might literally change your career path. Yeah. Wow.
Life, yeah.
That's very cool. Okay, so you're a winemaker at Niagara College. Right now it's raining in June, and it's been, I think May was the coldest May since like late 1960s. Yeah. So it's been a little blah. Over the course of the year, January to December, when you look at your calendar and you're, mobilizing your teams and you're driving your tractor and all the stuff that we get to see on Instagram, what are some of the big key dates that you're looking at, even just at a high level by month, that you're like, okay, I really want to make sure I hit this, or if I miss this, we're chasing ourselves. Like, just doesn't have to go super deep, but what are some of those key dates and windows?
Yeah, so January, we're hoping that our vines are now in that deep dormancy phase, so that if we do get those colds, -17, -22, or -22 temperatures, sorry, they're protected, they can handle it. After we do get those, deep freezes through February, we're checking bud viability, making sure that everything survived the winter. And then in the winery, that is time for prepping for spring bottling. So that's when we're sending our VQA samples in, we're doing all our tastings and all our finings and tweaking of the wines, the blending. And then we'll be sending samples off to, the VQA, then March, April, a lot of filtering. And by May, we're hopefully got our rosés and our Rieslings and our aromatic whites out of the cellar. And
in bottle.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that the work in the vineyard can start.
Right.
Because by May, we'll have bud break. And then the grapes are off after that. And they're just like... It just happens really fast, the progress in the vineyard. And so we're kind of tending to the outside, May, June through August. And then, as everyone knows, September, October is the madness starts.
Black out your calendar.
Yeah. My family really hates that I am a winemaker in some ways, because they can't plan anything in September, October, and somehow everyone's birthday is in September and October. But I can never be there.
It's true.
So we will start bringing the grapes in, but for my job, it's a bit different because September is also when school starts. So I get a new cohort of students in every September. So I am on the crush pad trying to manage 10,000 little decisions, and 30 people are staring at me while I'm doing it. So it's a really cool part of my job.
So you're...
And different than most winemakers. Sorry.
Yes.
Like
I was going to say,
they don't have a classroom in front of them.
You're not just a winemaker.
Yeah.
You're also an educator.
Yes.
So what day-to-day does that look like different than a winemaker who is at a winery that isn't a teaching winery?
Yeah. So I always tell people this about Flat Rock. I was there, and, I was the sole person in the cellar most of the time, and I was managing up to 15,000 cases of wine myself and the winemaker. And I was alone, a lot of podcasts, a lot of time to think. But at the college, I make a lot less in quantity of wine, except there's between 25 to 40 people around me at any point. So, yeah, it's a totally different game. And our mandate is always to make the best possible wine, because I can't teach people how to make bad wine. That would be defeating the purpose. Yeah. But also we are there for educational purposes. So I may be racking a tank, and it'll be stopped, and I will answer a question, and then I will go for 2 more minutes and then stop again and answer another question. And yeah, it's just a different pace, different style of winemaking.
I don't know what my job would look like if I had 40 people in my office looking at me send emails, and you know what I mean? Like it's a very different thing. And I don't think, and like just like winemaker to winemaker for sure is very different, but even just like career to career, like
when they were hiring for the role, like it was they were very clear with me, like this is the job. It's a certain type of person that can be around that many people all the time and always be kind of on call, on demand. I am 100% a resource for them. Mm-hmm. So that is why I'm there. But their future, their education, all that stuff is very important. So
for the industry, like you're integral for the industry. Yeah. What would we have if we didn't have that education going on?
Yeah, we're going into our 25th year of graduating students, and you know, if you look in the industry, you can't throw a rock in Niagara without hitting an NC grad. And we're really proud of that. And a lot of people have been integral to that success. And so I'm just happy to be part of that team as well.
Yeah, that's really
So cool.
I think that's a lot of fun. And Niagara College has so much in wine and hospitality because there's winemakers, there's wine business management, there's so many NC graduates
and
that are
with the whole culinary program that also supports the wine. It's really cool.
Yeah, and they get hired at kitchens and wineries across Niagara and up in Toronto and all over the place. Like it's
and I'm an NC grad from the PR program, and I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast without that. So it's full circle.
Yeah.
And did you stand and watch someone do podcasts for 40 people? No.
Like
it's that part to me, just like I'm trying to translate that over to my day-to-day life, and it's just like I couldn't imagine what it's like to have that. So I think that's probably like one of the biggest differences. And if you haven't been in, a winemaking facility, it's not this roomy classroom with 30 desks and chairs that's like neatly tuck in. There's tanks in your over hoses and there's ladders, and it's, sometimes they're big, tall, and airy, and other times they're not.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of crawling all over each other a little bit.
And you're totally beating those who can't teach allegations, because you're definitely doing it. And doing it amazing.
But at the same time, if you're a student, like that's what you want. Like you're not sitting in a classroom going, and then you do this, and then you do that. Like you're seeing it, and you're showing all the different steps, and you're living it with someone who's very, very proficient at it, obviously. But what a great experience from a student perspective too.
Yeah, I am fortunate to have gone to university, did my undergrad, and then I've done the college route as well. And you go to college to do.
Yeah.
You really, the hands-on cannot be taken for granted. I learned so much at college that, I saw so much. I was exposed to so many people, and they really get you involved. It's a small cohort, right? So you're really involved in things like I4C, or you're pouring at tastings, or you're volunteering at the Grape and Wine Festival. So I met people that have become mentors to me, that have become friends of mine when I was my first year at wine school, and I was a wine baby. Like I knew nothing. And to this day, these people are still cheerleaders for me. They're still people I call when I have questions. So it's really cool to be that involved. We're a very small industry. So therefore we're a very close industry as well.
Yeah.
100%.
So if you're looking at a student or a young person who's in that tasting room, and it's you, and you're getting the story and the history of what it is, and it's foreign to you. You've never heard these words strung together in the same sentence, and they're coming. And what would you say to those people as like, okay, I'm interested in becoming a winemaker. I'm interested in getting involved in hospitality to be a boutique manager. What would you say to them as kind of a guiding principle? And it doesn't have to be this big long story, but like what would it be, to get them set on the right path?
I think wine is very intimidating. I think people are scared to pronounce things wrong or say the wrong flavor or smell in the glass. So I think, just getting in that tasting room and just being there and asking questions is a great start. It is a very niche industry, and it's something that I love more than anything. I'm very lucky. When I got into the college program, I really wanted to pour fancy wines and wear cute outfits and be a sommelier. And I realized quickly that I actually love the cellar, and I just want to be in steel toe boots and working with pumps and, all that kind of stuff. So
get yourself a girl who can do both.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, asking questions, feeling it out. If you want to get a summer job at a tasting bar, or if you want to just, work in a vineyard for a summer, like that kind of stuff before you do the winemaking program. The winemaking program is, it's niche per se, but we do a lot of science. We do a lot of marketing and sales stuff, a lot of sensory analysis. So it's a lot more doors are available to you than most people think when they think of winery and viticulture technician. So I always try to make sure people know, like, yes, the program is specific, but it's only 2 years. It's a college diploma, and it will open doors regardless.
What's sensory and how did you put that?
We do sensory analysis, like old world wines, new world wines, like tasting, and then marketing and sales as well. And there's a full winery business management case we do. So there's a lot of other avenues you can take than being a winemaker or a viticulturalist.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. As someone maybe like I'm on the more hospitality and sales side, just having, young people or people that are new to the industry looking to get involved to come work at a tasting bar. Like winemakers, in my experience, have always been very generous with your time, including you being here today, but coming into the tasting room with, samples in plastic bottles and being like, hey guys, we just bottled this Gewürztraminer. I want you to come check it out, or we just pulled it out of tank or tank samples. And you can really get access to things that you maybe won't get if you stand on the sidelines. And there's lots of opportunity to join, whether it's through the college or just at a tasting room at a winery in Niagara.
Yeah, I'm not like shy in any way. I run upstairs with something that's delicious and I show everybody in the tasting room whether they're like, if they care or not. It's always an Erlenmeyer flask and I'm like, try this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so not shy
so cool.
with my sharing. And I think too, one cool side of the winemaking program is that we have a lot of somms who do it or hospitality people who do it to gain that technical side, because then they go back to downtown Toronto or go back to their wine boutique and there's an authenticity to what they know that can't be taught in a book or can't be said, just to the side of a table. So I think it's really cool knowledge to see it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I'm really curious about the sober curious non-alc kind of new wave coming in. And I'm wondering if you can see wine getting to a point where there are good non-alcoholic wines, or if that's just like the alcohol is part of the...
No, I think there's absolutely a push for it and everything is possible. So I think we can get there. The hardest part is that alcohol is a component. It's not just what gets you drunk. So you think of...
It's a natural component.
It is.
Yeah.
It adds body.
Yep.
It elevates flavor.
Yep.
It changes color. It affects pH. It affects smell. So when you think of building a wine, there's a couple ways to make a non-alcoholic wine. So you can build one. You can take teas and flavors and tannin and acid and build it up to be wine-like. But there's no alcohol. So you're missing that glycerol, that body, that texture, that what binds it all together. Or you can remove the alcohol. But when you remove alcohol, it's non-discriminatory of what you remove. So if you remove alcohol, you might remove that beautiful apple note or, the cherry flavor. So the hard part so far with non-alcoholic wines is I've had some and I wouldn't prefer them. But if you're driving or you're pregnant or you're, just by choice sober, they will do the trick, I would say. So I think, more research is always better. And I think, beer got there pretty quick because there aren't as many components that lead up to it. Lower alcohol to begin with, so
true.
And then same with non-alcoholic cocktails. It just vodka doesn't have a flavor anyway.
But it is a thing. Like we talk about wine and food, and we talk about events, and we do a lot of that. I know Niagara College does a lot of events, and there's regional events. We've mentioned Grape and Wine and I4C are two big ones, and having a non-alcoholic option. I think you're right. Cocktails and beers really were the first movers into the space for better, I would argue. But it's a must-have now. It's a staple. So there are a few brands that do it really well, and that's where they've kind of put their stake in the ground, so to speak. And I think I've seen a lot of bars and wineries and event venues just carry it as an option, right? Because I think wineries and patios and restaurants want to attract everyone and anyone to come and enjoy 90 minutes to 120 minutes on the patio and experience the vibe. And if 3 out of the 4 people are gonna get a glass of this beautiful Dean's List Riesling, great. And the driver can enjoy a non-alc option or a Diet Coke, right? Like it doesn't have to be non-alc, but I think you are right. It's a natural component of the winemaking process. So there's more out there, and there's canned options now too as well, which I know is a whole thing, like the pre-mades.
But it also is an exciting research and innovation frontier.
Totally.
I think it's going to be less about making a non-alcoholic wine to taste exactly like wine, because I think the wine purists are never going to stop drinking wine. Yeah, and that's great for them, and they'll always be there, and that's amazing. I think people who are not consuming alcohol and want something that's wine-like, their palate will calibrate to that wine-like product. The same way our palates calibrate to 2 sugars in our coffee or no sugars or whatever, right? So our palates will get there. So if you're never drinking wine anyway, you drink this wine-like product or this non-alcoholic wine, you will like it. You will enjoy it. So I just think they're just going to be 2 different products that we have to understand that they're different. And apples and oranges.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to look at it.
I had more questions that came up.
Fire away.
So because your position is unique as being an educator and a winemaker, what do you see climate change doing to the industry for the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, so it's very real. And because, we're making wine, we're at the heart of it really farmers. And there's a lot of amazing grape growers in the peninsula that are selling grapes to amazing wineries. So we can't get away from it. I think here in Niagara, our biggest concern is going to be the extremes. We are very fortunate with Lake Ontario and the escarpment, having our little microclimate here. We're very landlocked. We have an abundance of water already here. We don't really have those crazy hot summers like California. We don't have those, droughts. And we also, our winters are okay. We get some cold snaps here and there. But we're pretty safe right now. In 5 years, we're going to just see more extreme. So whether it's, more humidity in the summer, and that's higher disease pressure for us, or more rain in the fall, which really is hard around harvest. So I think it's going to be about, adapting, and then because, we can't really change Mother Nature any more than we already have. But I think for our students, not a single one of them comes in without that in mind. They're mostly of the younger generation. We have students of all ages, obviously, but they all come in with sustainability at their forefront of their thinking. They all want to know about innovation in the vineyard. They also come from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So, people come from Quebec. They're an emerging wine region. North of Toronto, Nova Scotia is an amazing wine region. So they're all going to be affected differently with climate change. I think it's like the other wine professors and myself, we're just highly educated in it. We keep ourselves really in the know of what's up and coming. There's a lot of innovation and research that happens at Niagara College campus itself. And we're also working with industry partners to, do research, whether it's U of T or University of Guelph or other places like that, to see how we can mitigate these factors.
What am I supposed to do when I order a bottle for the table and they're like, here you go?
So it depends how the wine is, the closure of the wine, depends on the age of the wine. And it depends, if it's what you thought it was. So Wine List tells you it's a certain year, and they come out, and if you were very, very nerdy, you'd say, oh, that doesn't taste at all like a 2016, and you'd spit it out. But also, if it's a cork, you're testing for cork taint. So they're presenting you with that little sip. You're smelling it. If it's not tainted, wonderful. Pour for the rest of the table. If it's cork tainted, you send it back. When they do it with a screw cap, it's a bit performative, except for if you don't like the wine. You can always send the wine back. People are also very afraid of that. You can just say you don't like something too.
You can say you don't like something. That's very important, yes. I think. Yeah.
Yes. I had I always have amazing students, but it's one student who was working with me, and it was the end of the day, and we all finished our shift, and we were going to have a beer just to celebrate the end of a day of harvest. And I got everyone a beer, and I handed them out. We all were talking about the day and having camaraderie, and I was like, hey, what do you think of it? It was like a Pilsner. He's like, yeah. I'm like, you like it? He's like, no. And I was like, oh my God, you don't have to drink this. Yeah. I'm so sorry. So I think people think if someone gives you a glass of wine or a beverage, you have to be so appreciative. You don't like it, just don't drink it. Say no.
It's not for you. Yeah. Why am I swirling wine, and am I supposed to swirl all wine?
You do not have to swirl sparkling wine. The bubbles do the work for you. So when you're swirling wine, you're essentially introducing oxygen into it. And like I was mentioning, wine is a bunch of organic molecules that are mostly volatile, that want to interact with oxygen, that can readily react with oxygen, and will just jump out of the glass. So that's why you're swirling it. You're doing it just to kind of aerate the wine and get those beautiful smells, aromas, flavors ready to be released for your sensory enjoyment.
And that's not just red wine.
It's not just red wine. It's definitely white wine as well. Especially when you have those aromatic like Rieslings and Sauvignon Blancs and stuff, they're just going to be so much more punchy after that swirl. I do encourage people to just smell it without swirling, give it that big impact of oxygen, and then give it another smell, and it will change it. So
yeah, and with wine, there we were just talking about, and I want your take on this. Are we too serious about wine? Is there an element of fear as approaching wine? Because I feel there is. I'd love your 2 cents on the attitude towards wine, and if you feel it's changing.
Yeah, I think historically we've taken wine way too seriously. You think of all the wine judges and the wine auctions and the people who can afford the $10,000 bottles of wine and the hoarding of wine. There's so much that's steeped in tradition, but also, history, and there's pretension around it. And it was almost like gatekeeping for a very long time. Like only certain people can really understand wine. Only the sommeliers can taste the right things. And I think we're very fortunate in Niagara because we're such a young industry that we don't owe a lot to tradition. We are kind of trailblazing. We're kind of making our own mark. So we're doing things that, traditional wine regions can't do because they're handcuffed by their laws. And so I think we can really, demystify and
right.
take wine a little less seriously because we're the new kids on the block. And our winemakers are of a new generation. And I think they can really showcase what our terroir is and our wines taste like and what Niagara is. And maybe that's not super serious in some ways, and maybe it's really serious when it comes to our quality.
But have taken their time to get educated, and there's an element of, the formality that wine has kind of come to the market with around judges and luxury and the hoarding of wine. I agree with you, but at the same time, there's a new, fresh approach where it's like the handcuffs are off.
Yeah.
Like we can do whatever we want, but the people here are doing it on traditional methods with new climate, considered cool climate or new world. And it's this perfect storm of there is no boundary, yet we're able to do things that are new and innovative and exciting with a traditional take on them that make it respected globally.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think our climate and our talented winemakers and the grapes we grow here are able to produce world-renowned wines.
Yeah.
But I think if you head to Niagara-on-the-Lake on a weekend in July, looks like the funnest place on earth. So I think that's where it comes to being not so serious. Like, yeah, drink our amazing wine and grab a bike and go down the street and, cheers to a beer at a patio. Like, it's not all about, it's not taking wine so seriously. You have to sit down for 2 hours and stare at this glass and analyze it every single way. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, that's amazing. Yeah. And here's 7 more that I can show you. And here's my friend down the street who also makes wine, who I don't make that kind of wine, but they do. Like, it's a really, it's a lot of camaraderie in our industry because we all tell our neighbor, hey, go see this person next. Oh, go to this person next. Oh, they make this amazing sparkling, this amazing Cab Franc. So I think the consumer is really lucky because they're not going to a region full of mystery and clutching your pearls and tight cards to your chest. We are open and we are excited to share our story and our wines and our friends and all that kind of stuff with everyone.
I totally agree. And what I find too is when you're working with people in the industry and you're hanging out after work or outside of work or on the weekend or you're attending a festival, people will remember what the conversation was with the glass of wine rather than maybe what was in that glass sometimes, right? And then it's like, oh wait, no, what did we have that night? And it was the Dean's List Riesling from Niagara College. And it's, oh yeah, we got to go back there, right? So that the beautiful power of wine is being able to connect that moment and the memory with a shared glass of wine, which is why we have the glass of wine on the pod, because we want to be able to enjoy, like, this episode and this moment in time will be marked by this bottle and glass of wine.
And when you're talking earlier about the experience of drinking the wine, like how you do the 3-sip method and introduce the oxygenation and things like that, it is a uniquely shared experience with the person you're having that bottle with, totally. Because there's no two that are the same. And you wouldn't do that with a beer. It's like we're all having a bottle of beer. Mm-hmm. It's not a unique experience. Like, there's something very special about what goes into that bottle. And the other thing that you were saying before,
it's a little superpower.
Yeah, magic. Like, it's actually magical.
Wine magic. Yeah.
About before we started recording, you were talking about how wine is a luxury good, and there is like an issue with accessibility, especially when you get into higher price point wine. Is there like an inherent difference in quality between an expensive bottle of wine or a cheap bottle of wine?
I think there's such thing as bad wine. And bad wine can come with a higher price point as well. I think, frustratingly, I'm sure for the consumer, you just don't know until you open that bottle and try it for yourself. So I fully respect that frustration. So this is when you lean on, reviews online or the sticker that says it won a gold somewhere, or you go into a tasting bar, you taste it first before you fork out that $40. But when it comes to wine quality reflected in the price point, there's a lot you can do to make a wine, whether it's the land you grow the grapes on, the type of grapes you grow, the tonnage you pick off that vineyard, how much you shoot thin. There's so many things that cost money, whether the barrels and all that kind of stuff, how much staff you have, hand storing those grapes, how long you store it in oak for. That will be cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. That will add to your bottom line, right? So, of course, that winery has to make that money back.
Cost of good. It's the cost of good. Of course. Yeah.
If someone's been in the industry for 20 years, they've made a name for themselves. They are known for their high quality wine. Of course, they're going to garner a higher price point. It's the same way that the fancy restaurants, the Michelin star restaurants, you're shelling out $800 for a dinner. Mm-hmm. Well, they've deserved. Is it better than every other food you've had? Maybe, but is it $800 better? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But they've gone through the training. They've worked so hard and developed this to get to that point. So I think for the average consumer, shelling out that $30 to $40 bottle once a month, maybe, or for a special occasion, that's awesome. I think that's great. If you can spend more, spend more. If you cannot spend more, do not spend more. There are amazing bottles of wine under $20 price point, between the $20 and $30 price point. And I think too, there was a question asked about the younger generation and drinking less wine or not supporting the wine industry. And I think it's they're very discerning with their dollars. And I think to commit to 750 mils of a product you don't know what's in that bottle is hard, where what a PBR tastes like, or what a White Claw tastes like.
And that's a challenge that we can step up to as an industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are, right? Mm-hmm. In my experience, we were talking about it, just now, you can get a bottle of wine for $12.95. Mm-hmm. Drink what you like.
Yeah,
right.
Drink what you like.
Drink what you like. If it's $12.95, there's no shame around bringing that bottle to a party with you there as a winemaker, because you're gonna be like, "Oh, you like this wine? Why do you like it? Tell me about it." And then you're gonna be like, "Great, that's awesome. And enjoy that wine." Right.
Yeah, and today when you're 20 and you buy that $12 bottle and you like it, and that's what you can afford, amazing. Mm-hmm. I will see you in 15 years, and you will be enjoying beautiful bottles that are more in your lifestyle at that time. And that's what's great, is that, there's no judgment. Get into that $12 price point. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy it. Wine is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to be sitting around a table with people, enjoyed with food, talked about, so I think that's the big thing too, is I buy different wine than I bought 10 years ago, and I'll probably buy different wine 10 years from now than I'm buying now. It'll always be Ontario VQA though, always.
Obviously.
But yeah, I think that's a big thing, is
and it's way easier to figure out what you like at $12 a bottle than the pressure it would put on.
Commitment. It's the commitment.
But wine anchors the moment, and I do want to touch on that. It anchors the moment, and it allows you for a dinner party. It's okay, I'm going to maybe splurge and go buy over X price point that you don't normally do. Or you're going to go and, Dom Perignon is a great example, right? It's a beautiful wine. It's lovely for what it is, but it's also associated with big celebrations, and you're popping a bottle, and it's beautiful, and that's cool. But do you do that every Tuesday? Probably not, for financial reasons. If you do, hey.
Congratulations.
Yeah, jealous. But at the same time, the majority of us aren't, right?
And do you want to? Because it's like you said, it anchors the moment.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
But that's the beauty of wine, is there's something for a Tuesday night after maybe a really tough day at work, or there's something where you're having, your in-laws over for the first time to your new house, and you want to impress or what have you, and you can go and spend $35 on a beautiful VQA Riesling. I don't know if this is $35, but
I think it's $28.
There you go. Right. But even then, right, that might be above average for some people to spend, right? An Ontario Riesling at $28.95. Maybe I've never done that. Maybe I've never taken that leap. Well, this occasion might warrant that, and that's beautiful. And then you'll have that for the rest of the time when you had that dinner party, or you had that person over, or you went on a date, or whatever it might be. It's connected to that bottle of wine.
I'm going through it in my mind right now,
all the different moments. Yeah.
There's a certain bottle that I will always associate with my best friend.
Oh, cool.
There is a certain bottle of wine that will always associate with like I said, the Ravine Riesling, like a certain moment, even though I'd had it a million times after that, not a million, that would be crazy.
Yeah. So crazy. Definitely never had
or
that
like
much
the
wine
girls'
before.
night out.
Yeah.
That is anchored in my brain somewhere
But there's
too.
a consumer for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
no, totally.
Yeah.
And it was like important to me in that time.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's another like beverage that feels the same way.
Yeah. And like we were talking before, for me, it's 30 bench Riesling.
Yeah.
That's one that, you know, because of, you know, I was able to get married at that property, and it's something that was always special to us. And then the Cab Franc won a massive international award. And that wine is always part of, you know, my wife and my life. Right. And I don't know if there's a bottle coming to your mind right now, but it is special to be able to have that. I don't know if there's something for you, but
yeah. So I'm pretty lucky to be in the same space as Emma in that I also won that decanter award.
Amazing.
That world decanter.
World's best wine.
World's best in show.
Best in show
at
yes.
the Decanter World Wine Awards for the 2019 Nodges Vineyard Riesling from Flat Rock, and that was a really big shock when we found out. Not that it wasn't a good wine, but just like that's a huge. It's a game
really,
changer.
really big deal.
Game changer. And it just goes to show the testament of Ontario wines is just rising. Like we're just rising so quickly. The quality, and like I joke. There's a wine that really anchors me. It's the 2008 Creekside Broken Press Syrah. Do you guys know Creekside? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So. I did a project on it when I was in wine school.
Okay.
And I fell in love with the wine. The wine was amazing as it is. But then I also got to meet Rob and Yvonne, who were the winemakers there then. They're still there now. And they were just so passionate and just so easygoing and cool and giving with their knowledge. And I just thought it was just so different than other professionals who I'd met who didn't have time for me or didn't want to hear from me. They just like were happy to sit and chat. Right. And I ended up working there years later. I'm still close with them. But that wine just was like, this tastes amazing, has an very interesting story behind it. And it got me to like really feel, I could belong here. I really felt welcomed by winemakers.
I love
and
that.
I was like, that's cool.
So go to the tasting rooms, drink what you want to drink,
yes.
no matter the price point. And if you're doing Dom on a Tuesday, please invite us. Yeah. We want to come and try it because I've never had it. And that's really it. And if you're interested in it, there's lots of avenues and ways to do it. And we really want to thank you for coming today. This was great. I know that it was a full day, but
this was a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
See, didn't we tell you guys that this is going to be a great episode? First off, huge thanks to Allison Finlay for joining us on the podcast and for all of the work she's doing over at the Niagara College Teaching Winery. If you haven't been, you've got to check it out. Try their incredible wines. I can attest to that after today. And potentially meet the next generation of Ontario winemakers. And of course, I have to fit in a shameless plug to follow us on social media. We are Wineries of NOTL on all platforms, and I promise if you follow along there, you'll get lots of fun winemaking stories, behind the scenes, and an endless supply of events in wine country. And last but certainly not least, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We hope you're enjoying listening to these conversations as much as we are having them, and I promise there's more to come, so definitely stay tuned for the next episode of Niagara on the Mic.